and generally about the political issues that are in hand now. Combatants for Peace is a grassroots Palestinian-Israeli organization that was founded during the Second Intifada by former combatants from both sides who promote peace and coexistence. I would want to just like say something about how this meeting is gonna go, and then I will give the word to Moran to start the conversation. So we will have Moran and May, Moran Zamir and May Shaheen. They're both activists and combatants for peace, who are gonna introduce themselves, who are gonna talk about the organization, tell us more about what they do. And then at the end, we will have some space for questions. So people can write their questions in the chat, and we will collect them, and Moran and May will hopefully be able to answer as many as possible at the end. So I would like to welcome Moran to start the conversation. Can we put him on, Ilan?
Hi, thank you very much. So first of all, we're waiting for May to join. She's on her way now. I think in a few minutes she will join me. And we will hold this meeting together. It's weird for me to be only myself because we are binational organizations, so anything that we are doing, we try to do it binational. So yeah, but we'll manage with that. I think it will help me to understand a bit about the group here. You are not everyone are involving in Standing Together, right?
No, it's a public.
Okay, so for some of the people that attending this meeting, the discourse of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is not so familiar, right? And for other, it's very much familiar. Am I right? Okay. I can see by the... Okay. And there is one person wrote me that he's from the UN. But I can see by the name that some people come from this region also. So we will try somehow to do it in a way that could appeal to everyone. So I apologize for both, for people who are very much familiar, and maybe I will say something that it's obvious for them. And also from the other end, for people that are not come from this region, or not familiar with the history or with the context, maybe in some point I will miss you, and I will ask you kindly ask if I say something that you don't understand or that you need to clarify it, so you can ask on the chat, and I will try to do it to answer. I will start with explain a bit about us, about Combatants for Peace. As Atir explain a bit, but I will give put you more inside the story of this movement that is very unique. As I say, we are binational movement. One of the only one exists today. There used to be more. Many of them not survive the catastrophe we had, not only this year, in the last maybe 20 years in a region, but today I think we are around maybe 3 or 4 binational organizations of Palestinian and Israeli working together. It started in 2005. For those of you that come from a region, you know we are still in the middle of the Second Intifada, towards the end. but it's very bloody time. It's, a lot of violence in the streets, also in the West Bank cities and in Israeli cities. Um, there is a lot of fear. I think everyone who live in this time in the region remember the deep fear. Doesn't matter if Israeli or Palestinian, of even going out to the street those days. And in and around this time there is a group of veterans, Israeli people who are serving in the reserve force, but um, as an officer, as combatants in the IDF, in the Israeli army, who decide to refuse to serve at the West Bank as a way of protest against the Israeli policy in the West Bank during the Intifada. And this group, I get some attention. Published and they are interviewing in television, in the media, and somehow there is another group of Palestinian ex-prisoner that used to sit in the Israeli jail for their taking part in the Palestinian resistance. And they saw it, like they saw it on the Israeli TV, like this group interview with one of the members of this ex-soldier group, and they asked to meet them. It looked very weird for them, this idea. Israeli refused to serve in the army, and they were interesting to know what it is. And those two groups are met in Bejala and next to Bethlehem, Palestine. And that was the beginning of a movement. It was the beginning very small, maybe 20 people. It's much more. A beginning of a movement that hold this narrative of transformation, of the ability to change, to Inbal share a bit of her personal story before. I used to be in one place, now I'm in another place. And specifically the transformation from violent state of mind for a peace state of mind. And what we do, I think, in Combatants for Peace is try to give space to this process, to this transformation process, to people that are and help them, support them in this process. Also open the gate to this process by raising awareness. There is another way. And we do it in many different here may join. Okay. There is many ways that we yeah, I think maybe the most famous one is the Binational Memorial Day event. This is a ceremony of remembering all the people died in the conflict, regarding their nationalities, which is very unique. It's also very like every year, it's happening in Tel Aviv, there is like a huge right-wing demonstration against it. It's something that for many people, they see it as something provocative, but for us, it's not. That's not the idea. The idea is not to bring awareness to the idea that every person that died in this conflict, it's a tragedy. And I think last time we did it, it was more than 12,000 people attending in the event. So that's the most famous one, but we do much more than that. If you freeze.
Hello, good evening.
Um, how the memorial name? It's like the Binational Memorial Ceremony. That's how it's called. Um, so may I just explain a bit about the history of Combatants for Peace and about what we're doing now? So explain about the Memorial Day ceremony, and a part of that we do it. We walk a lot on the ground with demonstration with different grassroots activism, especially in the West Bank, especially in community in sea area, in the area that are suffered from a lot of settler violence, and also in the risk of demolition. So we work with these Palestinian communities, and also a lot of educational work. We had something it's called the Freedom School. It's a program for young people, both in Israel and Palestine, who want to learn critique.
Sorry, Moran, you have been muted for some reason.
From which point? I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, you're there.
Yeah, so I said we work a lot with in the educational field. That's something called the Freedom School. It's a school for young people, young adults, from 18 to 25, to want to study like critique point of view about the reality we live in. And so we had this program, and also this kind of meeting. We do it a lot also in our region. We meet young people and high school students and every place that inviting us. We come two people, two speaker, and basically share our own story. I think soon what we will do, me and May, we share a bit about ourselves and about the transformation point that we did in our own life, um, and bring those story to much people that we can. That's also something that we activity that we do. I think it's very important, especially now. Uh, yeah, May, do you want to add something about Combatants for Peace? Or we...
I think, hello, good evening. I think you said, yeah, you said a lot, and maybe we share more when we talk about our personal stories.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we will do now, it's basically it's again it's share a bit about ourselves, about the journey that we did, not because it's so special. I think like everyone, I sure also in this circle here, each one of you could replace us by sharing his own story. You know, in Bal for sure, because I hear some of your story, and not here for sure. But because just to give example about how we hold this narrative of transformation. And one last thing before we start, I will say when I say transformation, I'm not meaning A to B. People are not mathematics, you know, it's a process. It's still going. It's not that we are like, okay, we used to be pink and now we are blue. That's not how it works. So we are very sensitive also with the people that we meet and people that we work with to understand that we are always in this process towards peace, also in ourselves. And it's always challenging. Now we had this crazy war going on, and it's challenging in each one of us, in his heart, the place of peace. And we are familiar, not less than many other people in our area, with the feeling of wanted to revenge, of wanted to um, use violence for solve problems. It's important to mention that, to say that we are all part. We are part of our societies. We're not like um, Jesus or something. It's not. Uh, Okay, a bit about myself. So I'm Israeli. I'm live in the city of Haifa. Um, I didn't born in Haifa. I born in a very small place in the south of Israel, in the kibbutz, right, really next to the border, to the Green Line. Um, so if you look from my parents' house garden, it's on a hill, and then there is a valley, and on the other side of the valley, on the hill, there is a Palestinian village of Palestinian that used to live where my parents live until 1948, when they just escaped to the other side of the border that day, Jordan. Um, and in the valley, in the middle, there is a huge concrete wall, really ugly wall that um, it's when I was a child, it wasn't there. It's built after the Second Intifada, the separation wall, but today you can't miss it, just like there. Um, I think May could share a lot about this wall in her own story. But when I was a when I was a child, I think we had a wall inside, even though the physical wall wasn't exist. But it was very clear that the people on the other side of the valley are dangerous for us. That if we will enter their village, it's a risk. Because they hate us because we are Jewish, because we are, and it's a fact. It's something that we need to know if we live it. I'm talking about very early education, no, not even by saying the words, just that, and it's come with narrative that hold the story that in what happening between us and the Palestinian, eventually we are the good guy because we want to live in peace. We are the Israeli, the Jewish, and they, the Palestinian, for some reason, they don't want peace. They just because their culture is violence, because their religious is violence. I don't know what, and therefore there is no other way. We have to defend ourselves, and we have to go to the army and each man, so woman, when he turns 18 and defend our people because otherwise they will kill us. And it's their fault. It's not our fault. And sometimes maybe we're doing something wrong, but in the big story, it's their fault. Like in 48, they refused to the agreement of the UN, and then the war started, and then 67, and then the Intifada, going like that. And this narrative was something that in my childhood you not really doubt about. Again, it's very rooted. You don't really ask question about. My family, they still I still saw themselves as left winger in a way that they support peace, but even for 1 second, it's not make them doubt about they should serve in the military, for example, or go to the war if they've been called. Because yes, we want peace, but they don't want peace, so what can we do? Anyway, when I was young, I think 6 or 7 years old, the Oslo Agreement was signed up. It was very optimistic time. I think I remember in school we used to sing song about peace. Now it's like science fiction to imagine Israeli school sing song about peace, school children, but that was the reality back then. Um, but it's all completely blew up when I was 13, when the Intifada started, year of 2000. When now I'm sure about my experience as 13-year-old boy. So it's not knowledge, or it's not something that today I can say from adult point of view. But from my experience, as 13-year-old boy, it was just terrifying. It was every day some bus was being bombed or restaurant. And you start to feel maybe I shouldn't, I should pay more money, take taxi, not going by bus because I may die. Because maybe some Palestinian terrorist could blow himself up in this bus. And it also was really next to where I live. I said we live next to the Green Line, the border. So there was shooting, there was sniper, Palestinian sniper, shooting at car entering to the kibbutz. And it was, and I remember one couple murdered a week after they got married. Right, like few hundred meters from my parents' house. So it was very scary. And I think what happened to me, like many people in my generation, Israeli and Palestinian, that the fear, it transforms to hate. I remember our group of like high school student when we were like 15, 16 during the Intifada. We take this fear and we transform it to hate. We start just, I remember, to sing this song like a joke. Today it's reality, fortunately. But we say, yeah, let's destroy all of Gaza. Let's kick them all to the sea. Let's do. And I think today, looking back, it was a way to deal with those fear. It was well, and we were so-called good leftists, but we're from the kibbutz. We are not like a settler or something. But still, that was the place that this reality took us. It's not something that comes from our parents, like saying let's kill all the Arabs. I never hear it from my parents, but it's come from us because it makes us feel strong in time that we feel very weak, that we very very vulnerable. And with all those feelings, I joined the IDF when I was 19, the army, and serve in a combat unit. Mostly, most of my army service was in Gaza in the year of 2006 to 2009. And what happened to me during those 3 years, that I faced, it was maybe first encounter, a real encounter with Palestinian people. Like I met Palestinian of like 48 who live inside Israel, but Palestinian from Gaza, West Bank, first encounter, and first time I enter Palestinian house. But I did it with a gun and with a threat that I'm now entering your house and you should stay in the bedroom because I make your house a temporary base, because that's what we do. Like, I'm talking about today, it's so naive, like it's terrible. Today they just demolish the house, it's all the people inside. Back then we say, okay, in order to protect ourselves in Gaza, because we have to stay in a house, because if we'll be outside, someone will shoot us. So we politely ask the family to sit in their bedroom 3 days, and we will be in the living room, like 30 or 40 soldiers. And if they need to go to the bathroom, they can ask, and if it's the right time, we let them. If not, so and that's happened very often. When like we had this kind of military operation, we need to catch some wounded guy from Hamas. So we just stay in the neighborhood a few days looking for this person, and meanwhile sitting in family house. And it raised a lot of questions in my mind. Like, because I realized that those people, especially the children, they saw me as a soldier, that it was very clear for me that they will hate me until the day they will die. Probably, maybe not, maybe, but most likely. And I say, okay, so we catch this person from Hamas. Okay, maybe he got some info about terror. I don't know. But the result is 50 children that will hate us until the day they will die. So why? Do we achieve by doing that? I remember one day we entering house in Rafah, a city, not really in the city, but like around the city. And the family escaped because they knew we gonna come. But one person was still there because he couldn't escape. He have only one leg. He was disabled person. And I remember him because he looked at us as a soldier that entering his house without fear in his eyes. It was surprising because usually the people who enter the house are was very much afraid, but he didn't, and he shared his story with us. Basically, that's what he did. It was crazy. It was so realistic, but that's how it was. And this guy, he used to work inside Israel after Oslo. He married a woman, like Palestinian from Ramle, from Israeli citizen, and they had children. And when the Intifada started, the authority, they find out that he's from Gaza and he have no documents. They just send him back. And he haven't saw his family for 7 or 8 years that day. And then after a few years after he came back, one day he walked in the family like orange orchard, and Israeli drone dropped a bomb, and he lost his leg. And he shared this story and then look at us and say, I want to ask you something. Like, think about it. Like he lay down on the couch and 20 soldiers around him. What do you want me to do? Like, where do you want me to go? You want me to go to abroad? Just give me visa and I will go. You want me to go to the sea? I will take a boat. But what? Where else I could go? And yeah, and all the soldiers around start to asking, yeah, it's your fault. You elect Hamas, so now you pay the blah blah blah. But for me, I understand that he asked me much deeper question. That the question that he asked, it's like, where does it go? This story for all of us. Like, for where does it lead? It's which future, Ben? Like, we are all in some kind of dead end, and this question is going with me back when way after. And it was like a crack in the narrative. Not only this story, it was a lot more. But I can say when I end my military service, I was with a lot of doubts about the narrative that I grew up upon. But still, it still took me several years to get into activism. At the beginning, I just escaped from politics, like many young Israeli, went abroad to India, and then like to in go back to a country to the far desert. Just don't want to deal with that. But then after a few years, I found myself in this event that I told you about, the Memorial Day event, and I didn't know anything about it. But what I saw on stage was two father that lost their daughter in the conflict. One was, his name was Ben Kfir, that his daughter Yael, Israeli, was died in terror attack, Palestinian. The other, his name was Bassam Aramin, his daughter Abir, a Palestinian from Anata, from East Jerusalem, was shot by IDF soldier. She was 11 years old, and died, murdered. And they both say the same. They both say basically, "Khalas, like enough. We don't care who started this and what happened in 48, 600. We do care, but we more care about just ending it, not about the big story. We just enough what's going on." And it was very moving for me. And when this event ended, I asked who is organizing this event, and he told me this organization called Combatants for Peace. I know nothing about. They say, okay, it's ex-combatant. I was combatant. Okay, nice. I could join you. So I joined without even know what it is really. But it took me for a journey. Now it's been 11 years since then. It was 2013. Life-changing journey of meeting a lot of beautiful people that share with me their own story, Palestinian, Israeli, doesn't matter, and getting to know these people, their story, what they've been through in their life, their experience. And I think after being so many years in this kind of environment, because it's really, it's shifting something that my kid, like, that it's make my life more difficult, I can say, because now anything, like now what happening, I feel the pain of everyone. And so it's like more than double, because there's like a lot, but pain in the heart. And but from the other end, it's a source of hope for me, because it's a hope because I understand that eventually we talk about people, about human being, and that people could change. You know, it sounds like a cliche, especially now in those days. We will talk about what's happening now. I want to end with maybe this bit cliche, but yeah, that like change is possible, because that's what I experienced my year of activism. Doesn't mean to say it's easy, but it's possible. Maybe I will end here and let my share my story.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, dear. I now realize, hearing your story again, how similar the years and the difference of the experience that we had. My name is May Shaheen. I am a therapist, a psychologist, and a peace activist. I've been in this field for the past 12 years. I am from East Jerusalem, a town called Azariya, but within the West Bank, separated by the separation wall. I was a child to the first Intifada, born to parents, and the father is from what's now considered the West Bank, and my mother is what's now considered East Jerusalem. So they each held different ID. And in my childhood, it was very normal. There was no separation I just played wherever I like to play. It's like really 20 minutes away from Damascus Gate, where my mother family lived, and it was so normal to be together. And the first Intifada, I don't remember so much about it. I remember so much of the stories and the intensity and my parents and my community, the atrocities and also the resistance, the spirit of resistance within the community, the acknowledgement of this way of resisting oppression and occupation and saying no to what is happening. For me personally, my parents were non-violent, in the non-violent resistance. They really wanted to speak loud for everyone, and they held their beliefs really strong that in this land we should not distinguish between Muslims, Jewish, and Christians. And this is not even to be discussed. We don't even sit there. Like there is none of us is to tell none of us who is to be here in this land. And for them, that was it. It's like, so how do we make it happen? In the 90s, with the Palestinian Authority taking place, they had a heartbreak. They felt a lot of freedom, and they realized that everything they've been doing and all the education and the effort and movement they did and held, they didn't do what they thought it will do. They started hearing separation wall, checkpoints, a change of roads, separating families, not understanding where is what and who is what, and not even like the giving birth started taking a different place, like where and how and what does it mean. And they became very, heartbroken, and they decided to step back out of politics and not to take any more, any bigger role with the Palestinian Authority. And they disconnected themselves from it, and they told us that this is not what they wanted, and this is not what they thought will happen. So we are no more a political family in this way. And we should focus on community change now. In the second Intifada, I was already a teenager. I lived in a town called Aisawiya back then because of the beginning of the separation wall to maintain the Jerusalem residency with our mom. So I walked from Aisawiya to Aizariya with my brother every morning. And many, many times we didn't go to school because the military will decide under the rain that we should wait. We should do nothing. We should just stand there being humiliated under the rain until we cannot stand no more. And after 5, 6, 7 hours, they will say, Ruho, go. And we will go to school having pajamas in our bags. Teachers would know. We would barely change, drink a cup of tea, and have to do the whole way back from Aizariya to Aisawiya. And sometimes them getting angry at us because we made our way back home. So we would stop again. And second Intifada, military started invading. We started seeing curfews happening, the call to resist, as women, as men, everybody should be out in the streets. Everybody should be. My mom before me. My mom before my dad. My grandma before anyone. This is like the resistance of freedom. And it's not against Jewish. It's against the oppression and the occupation. For me, it really hardened me to see the daily loss of home, the daily oppression that is being taken place on me. I couldn't understand, how do we resist in a non-violent way? Like, what do you mean? It's military. They are invading us. They are demolishing the houses. It's scary few for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we cannot leave. We lose family and we cannot go. We're being told not to go. So the second intifada took a more violent turn, and I took part in what now I call violent resistance. And it was a shout, a roar to say, no, I don't take this. I don't take this oppression. I don't take this occupation. I go out to the streets. I do whatever it takes me to do as a Palestinian to free and to get you out of here. And my resistance started taking a bigger community space. I became known. They started arresting me. I started getting more and more stubborn into the resistance. And then my mom got really, really scared, and thank God she had control back then, and I had so much blessings coming my way. I was a smart child in school, a smart teenager in high school, and I got a scholarship because I led a lot in the second intifada. I was honored for the part I took, the poetry I wrote, the writings, everything that I did. I was one of the Palestinians, third world countries, who was qualified enough to receive a scholarship in Europe to go study. And my mom found that this was a way that I will stop what I was doing. And she pushed for it, and I did. I left, I got my education. I decided to study psychology, to come back, to work on my community, work on the trauma, work on everything that I witnessed as a teenager, as a child. And I really thought, maybe this is what it will take me now. I resist this way. I bring this education. And I came back, and I remember I didn't know how to go to Jerusalem. I couldn't figure the way. I couldn't understand the road. It changes. I was in my hometown standing, and I'm like, okay, so I see the wall is done, and I don't know another way. I had no clue. And my mom was on the other side, and I had no permit. And I started working with the UN. I lived illegally in Jerusalem. This was my form of resistance. Whenever I had the permit, I am gladly there. And whenever I didn't, it was my resistance to be there until I met with a community called Ikumi. And this community was created and formed by crazy Israeli and Palestinians who thought, let's rent huge lands in a sea area where Palestinians and Israelis can just walk in and can be together. And they actually did. They just went looking, found 10 dunams, I don't remember how many dunams of land, and rented it out and said, now we have a community. Whoever feels called, yalla come, let's start creating one. And they did. And I got to meet them 3 years into this project. And I was there only to translate in behalf of a friend of mine. And the first person I translated for was Sul al-Khatib, Sliman al-Khatib, the co-founder of Combatants. And I remember his story shook me. And I asked the person that was facilitating the meeting, I said, excuse me, like, what am I here to translate? I don't understand, because I thought I am here to translate a political meeting, but I think I'm translating emotional one. And I don't do this kind of a translation. And he looked at me and he said, do you want a break? And I said, no, I don't translate this language. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. He was in jail. He should be proud. Like, what is he saying? And then he looked at me and he said, just take part in the translation. And if you don't feel well, we will talk about it later. And then we talked, and I asked him, I said, what is this language you're speaking to me from? And he said, it's called nonviolent communication. And this day, it changed my life. I looked at them, and it was the first time I saw humans. And it was the first time I understood what is nonviolent communication and resistance means. And that everything I meant to say and do, that my intentions was only to be free, only to stand against oppression and occupation. It was never to harm. My strategies created the conflict. If I hear a Jewish now telling me, hey, May, I'm a Jewish, I need safety, I need home, I need freedom, I need my children back from Gaza, I need my husband back from Gaza, I'll sit at my knees and go, yes, of course, me too, I meet you there. I meet you there, I know you there, I see you there, you see me there. Same with safety. I know what it means. So it's the strategies. And to me, having this realization of like, yeah, my conflict lays on the level of the strategies and not the need and not the feeling. And yes, I need to acknowledge the narrative. I need to listen to Sliman al-Khatib. I need to sit with Abner. I need to go to Hen. I need to acknowledge what was. I need to acknowledge what is. And I need to create what is to come. And this is nonviolent communication when it's taken to nonviolent resistance, which is actually what the Combatants does. It goes from dialogue to bringing it into action. How do I take that day from economy into moving it to where I am now? Today, in my personal life, 2 of my brothers are married to Jewish Israeli women. We have 3 beautiful grandchildren, Shaheen, Mila, and Noor. And yeah, their moms are Israeli Jewish and their fathers are Palestinians Muslims. And to me, this is it. This is resistance. This is standing up. This is the action taking. This is combatants for peace. This is fighting. This is bringing a change beyond dialogue. How do I move? How do I create grassroots initiatives? How do I stand up to my talk to the point where my brothers will feel safe to fall in love and marry? Normal people meet and grandchildren are born. Amazing, amazing grandchildren that are beyond identity that was given to us. And this is nonviolent resistance. This is what the Combatants actually holds. It's a very much of action taking, being in the fields with the shepherds, being in the villages with the people, standing up, leading protests. We had an amazing, one of the most powerful protests where we had peacekeepers, where we went with the intention that we will stand firm, that we will hold and uphold our right to stand together and live together and say we are here and we are against oppression and occupation and system that keeps separating us and not against each other. And yes, we had peacekeepers. We chose to resist in a way that was non-violent and to be there loud and seen. And it was really powerful. It was really powerful to say, even to the military that came, even to the police that came, I see you. I see you. I do not want that this is our weekend, that I wake up on a Friday morning on a junction protesting for us to live together and you come to arrest me. I also see you. I also acknowledge your fear. I also condemn the 7th of October. I condemn the kidnapped. I condemn the prisoners. I condemn this system. Not Jewish, not Palestinians, not Muslims, not the Christians. And I stand and I want to be seen in this resistance. And again, like within the combatants, like this movement where real people meet, sit, talk, even fight and argue and agree and disagree and sit with their fear and go like, is it safe to drive toward you? And I go like, what does safety mean? What does safety mean? And who am I to tell you? And who are the good police to call? And we realize again, and he says, okay, I drive toward you. And I say, be safe. And we meet with the fear and we shake with the fear and we resist and we move from dialogue to action, to grassroots, to where I say, this that you see in May, I want that you see everywhere in this land, everywhere in this land. As my friend started saying, we are not unique. In the contrary, we chose the simplicity of humanity, to just be in our humanity. That's all we did. We resisted not to be fully one. That's all it took. That's all it took to say, now I know, and I acknowledge, and I will sit, and I will heal, and I will lead, and I will roar. And to me, this is what the combatants represents. This is what we are trying to do, learning to do, coming together to do, and standing up for doing. And yeah, thank you for listening. And if anybody has a question, please direct us. I also don't know how much time we have.
We have some more time. People are invited to write their questions so that they have ones. They are also invited to hold a hand. There is like this feature in Zoom where you can hold a hand, and we can allow you to. We can unmute you so you can pop your questions. Yeah. So I don't see any questions, but I have a question maybe. So my question is, in light of the ongoing war and political oppression against anti-war movements in Israel, how has your work have been affected? And what are the difficulties that you have been facing lately, which is different? Like, how did these difficulties are different than what used to be before the war started?
I mean, recently, since this war started.
Yes, since the 7th of October.
I think one of the biggest challenge that we had that since the war started, it was the Israeli government completely cancel all the entering permits, Palestinian. So it's more difficult for us to meet than before. Can meet only in the West Bank, only in certain place. So the physical meetings, it's more difficult. We're also doing activity together. And also, I think, but that's something very concrete. But on the deeper level, I think there is two wave contradiction that happening in the same time. One, it's towards it's coming against us, like that. We used to be under attack. We under attacked many years as a leftist traitor, etc. But yeah, now it's stronger. It's yeah, it's just the same thing, just stronger. It's like. But from the other end, I see a way like the contradiction of that. I see there is many people are interesting, much more than before. Really, it's kind of amazing. But I think what happening that this war was a wake-up call for many people, and people are start asking ask themselves, where does it going? And look for answer. And we are one of the place where people go searching for answer for this question. So in that regard, it's all not only negative. It's happening now. I'm talking now only between the Israeli society. I think maybe May could share what's happening in Palestine. And that's yeah, like we'll be doing event and there is more people attending than before. And yeah.
Like for us in the combatants, even when the seventh happened, like the first phone call we did was to each other. My first phone call was to Sliman al Khatib and immediately saying we need to do, like, and trying to just sit with what was. And this is exactly what we did. We started sitting as Palestinians and activists, talking, meeting, and going through what we had say, even to ourselves and to our own community. And I remember one of the conversations, for example, with my family was them condemning the kidnapped and the rape. For example, they were like, "Wow, we are so against it. We are so shocked. We are so shocked. We condemn it. This is not a way that we want to resist. This is not the way that we want our freedom to happen. Because then, what will happen if they see you?" And they were talking to me, and to me, like, with the toughness of this conversation, it gave me so much safety. I'm like, good. If we sit at this understanding that what happened there should not happen, and it is not our way to resist, we are good, we are amazing. And this is what we held. This is what we brought into the combatants as well within the Palestinian meeting, of how to hold a nonviolent resistance in togetherness within the organization and within our community, how to speak more about it, how to call for meetings. And we had a lot of painful discussions. We had so much pain with each other and cried a lot, and so much frustration, even with meeting the Israeli activists and just asking, what happened? What just happened? How could it happen? What have we done? What have we not done? What should we do? And this is where we are now. As my friend just said, like, we have much more people actually joining. Many people are coming. Next week we have 60 Palestinians joining a gathering in the combatants, and we just held one for the Israeli community where more than 60 actually joined. Half of them are in you. People who heard of us came to the Zooms and they're like, yeah, we want to be involved. What is happening there? So we're holding the community. We're saying, we're doing this, we're doing that. Do you have a grassroots initiative? Can we support what you have? Can you join? What is happening here? And again, like, taking it from dialogue to action is like truly what we've been trying to do and to learn. Like, we're not perfect, but we are in a lot of learning and with a lot of the truth.
Thank you. So there are some questions in the chat already. Could you read them louder? So Pam is asking, say thank you both. Can you estimate how many of the open to the new are in the communities? Are these also open leaders, policymakers, etc.?
If the newcomers, I didn't get it, but
yes, the newcomers, like, because I think Moran said that it's becoming like it's reaching the public. Your work is reaching the public, and they're basically newcomers, as you call them. And Pam wants to know if there's an estimation and what kind of people are those who are joining.
I'm not sure. Like, yeah, we work a lot with this kind of advocacy, like people's, especially in the US. I think now we just some delegation with a lot of meetings with people. They have White House, etc. That also something that we do, and I think that we've been asked to come. It's not, we don't even need to push ourselves. And hopefully it's another way to bring change. So it's part of what we're doing. I think in the grassroots, we are working with anyone that come. We're not trying to target people that are like more influence. And that's like another part of what we're doing. We reach those people and talk with them, but people that we invite to join us, it's everyone. Like, I think it's to separate things. We do both. I don't know if it's answered.
I think like on the international level, yes, definitely we do have a lot of people in politics that are involved. In here, we are more working in our communities. We are more grassroots initiatives. We are working with the university students. This is who we seek to bring, the youth, women leadership, women workshops, getting women involved into this. So the intention and the goal and the change that we want to do is within this community, and the newcomers are from this community. Are even the Israelis, that like some of them like here are doctors or engineers, but they also want to join. They also want to be active in this field, and this is the space that we open. That yeah, anyone and everyone is extremely important and crucial in our activism. And I also saw a question on the chat I want to answer about Gaza. I think we believe a lot of what is now being done is for the war in Gaza to stop. Is with the intention for the war to stop, is for the intention for the hostages, for the prisoners exchange. Even in our work, we speak a lot about Gaza and the children and the civilians. Everywhere we speak a lot, and we condemn in both violence against, and we do, our protest was against the war and for ceasefire in Gaza, and to speak on the atrocities and the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. So our voice is really loud, and we really, like, we are in a lot. My family, I lost 25 friends of mine in this war. We lost 2 peace activists in the West Bank in this war. So it's touching us personal, and every decision that we take and every place that we bring ourselves and our resistance is to actually speak for our people, for the change for everybody, the freedom and the equality of everyone. So yeah, I don't know if there is other questions.
Yeah, so I assume that that was the question about Gaza that you answered. The next question from Peter Lavach is, what do you want us to do in Austria? What kind of political claims do you want us to make in our country, in addition to the petition of Standing Together? Okay, you probably don't know about the petition. We had a petition where in the beginning of the war, in the beginning of November, where we managed to bring 5,000 people to sign, to try and put some pressure on the chancellor to change the vote that Austria took against the ceasefire. So this is what Peter is referring to.
I think one of the main, again, our intention is that both our voices and both our freedom is held by everyone that is choosing to take part in this. That when you speak for justice and equality and the acknowledgement of both. Because I do not want the oppressed to become the oppressor. I do not want to say again I do not want my freedom in the expense of what could and might happen. And I would say to people themselves, like to proclaim this power. This is our power. Governments are us. Change makers are us. We are the one that elects, and we are the one that don't elect, and we are the one that says we are not going your way. And to me, yeah, proclaim this power of saying, here, we hear these voices, they want to live together and to speak for it. And not just to be like pro-Palestinian, pro-Israeli, or like, no, be pro-humanity. And stand and say this, we are standing for both. We are standing for the freedom of humanity, for equal rights, against oppression and occupation, and not against humanity, and acknowledging the narrative. We have to acknowledge the narrative that led us here. It is not the 7th of October. It is not. It goes all the way back to the Holocaust. It goes all the way back to not acknowledging and not sitting and not healing. It goes all the way back with the fear and the trauma that never really took a place. Like the Jewish never really had this acknowledgement, and this is one of the things I try and bring in my resistance of say I acknowledge, I hear you, and I acknowledge. And it's vice versa. To acknowledge, to stand, to empower us in being one, in bringing this voice of togetherness as the main voice of what leads your hearts into wanting the change of this land.
Moran, you want to add something to that?
I'm sorry, Moran, but I'm really sorry. My uncle just passed away. I'm receiving messages from the family.
Wow.
I'm really, thank you. And it's okay. I think Moran is here with you, and I'm also here in a different way. But yeah, I need to go see what's happening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being with
so
us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Moran, dear. And I am here. If there is questions that you wish to ask, I think Athir can contact us, or Ruti. Like we are always here to support whatever that needs. So
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear, May. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Moran. Yes, we'll be in touch there. Bye.
Yeah.
About I'm
Yes.
not yeah, it's a bit shocking, but I'm not sure I have something to add about this question.
Okay. So we have two other questions, and we can answer that. And I think we're almost there with the time. So maybe we can answer those ones and finish this. So Arina is asking. She's saying that or he, I don't know. The person is saying that there is a journalist and they're working on a report about the children's rights in Gaza. And the question is, would you like to tell us more about the Freedom School, your experience with it, and how it is affected at the moment?
So as I said, the Freedom School is one of the project that we do that I'm personally very proud about. I was also one of the group that established it, and was the manager of it for 2 years. It started in 2020, and the idea is give a space for critique political education for young people. But do it in a way that it's not only intellectual, it's also as experience of young people living together and in a group and doing some kind of group work together with their own, how those material that they learn about face their own story, their own feelings. And and going a lot also outside to the field, different tours, and especially in the West Bank, also inside Israel, in the Palestinian community, Bedouin community in the south also suffered from discrimination, racism. So yeah, and I think the main goal is to build some kind of young political avant-garde, if I can say, that challenge the mainstream. And we do it now twice a year. Now it's been going 3 years. So I think there's already like 7 cohorts. And there is amazing alumni movement. They're doing things by themselves. They organize events. They're doing a lot of activism. And there is also last year we also opened one in Palestine. It's a bit different, but similar also in another way that they don't live together because it's more problematic social-wise, like boys and girls together. So they do it more like in intense weekends. But the idea is the same. And yes, and one of the main teacher of the Palestinian group, she's from Gaza. She now live in Bethlehem, but she her family is from Sajaiya, is one of the neighborhood that really got demolished by this war, and she lost many of their family members. Amazing woman, Fatma. You get to know her someday. Yeah, that's basic.
All right. So the next question would be, so Flora is saying, thank you both so much. I would love to hear your opinion about the question to support Jewish friends who feel rising threat in the current situation, but still challenging rising nationalist views and perspectives.
I don't really know what to say apart of my empathy. You know, it's tough. I'm you know, as a Jewish person live in Israel, I never really had the feeling of being a minority as a Jewish. So I don't really know how it feels. So I feel I'm not in a place of saying something about how is it be diaspora Jew at this time of history and what you should do or not do. Really, I'm humble about it. I'm not really in a place. I'm just supporting, like, I think holding everything together. So, yes, I'm Jewish and I'm proud of that, but I'm still against the war, for instance. I know that it comes with prices from also inside the Jewish community and also outside. So it's proud, and so I proud for people doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think Inbal wants to say something.
Yes. Though I see there's another question in the chat now. I think I haven't read it. I wanted to ask you, Moran, our collective has been boycotted by both sides, both pro-Israel and both, I wouldn't say pro-Palestine, but Jewish organizations and from the other side, for a long time now, for many years now. It's not something new. We understand it is because we are promoting and advocating for a dialogue. And we will sit down with whomever will sit with us. I'm not talking about right-wing extremists. We have this strict understanding that we will sit with people that share common values as us. But since the starting of this war, we feel as a collective that the polarization is getting so difficult that even among the left-wing organizations that do share the same values as we do, there is no conversation, there's no way for a dialogue. As a group that trying to promote coexistence, I ask you, I hope that maybe you can share from your experience, how do you deal with that, with polarizations, with different point of views? How do you find a way to manage, not manage, what's the word, but to break the gap, to build the bridge?
You know, there is a joke about Jewish people that I think it's appeal also for leftists, Jewish or not Jewish. That if you put two Jews on a lonely island, after a week you have three different synagogues, one for each one, and the one that no one will never answer, no, will never enter, no matter what. So divided. I think it's also true for leftist people everywhere. Like we like somehow it and to be divided and to have this kind of inner argument about the smaller things that that avoid us for come together as a union or as a coalition even. It's sad, unfortunately. I think we also feel it like here, I think, in Israel, even inside the left-wing circle, a lot of inner politics and about very important questions, like, are you Zionist or not Zionist? Are you support one state or two state? Those are very important. Okay, I agree. But there is something more important, more important than that. And I think what more important than that, on the other hand, is a massive, very strong, and very united fascist right wing that win and lead. And I think we need to find a way to build coalition. Put aside very important questions that are now maybe not in priority. Because I think if we believe that this war should come to an end and the violence should stop at this moment, so we can hold this opinion if we one stater or two stater, it doesn't matter. In this moment of history. So we should find a way to build this coalition, and I think it's very important, and for some reason it's very difficult for us. I don't know people here what their opinion, say us, like me and you at least, like leftist people. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's the same thing. You know, it's happened all over the history. We go back to Germany in the 30s, the same story. Like communist, social democratic, every time. So okay, so they fight between them, and then the Nazi came. So I don't really know. I think what we're doing in the Combatants for Peace, that we invite everyone to the table to talk, to sit with. We even invite settlers if they want. We will not meet in the settlements, but if a settler want to come to our meeting, they're welcome. If people were still like part of violent struggle, but they want to be in the meeting, they will come. Maybe not with their uniform. Maybe they will change after. It's not easy, you know. But I think it's very important because by attending, it's a statement. It's the first step of transformation. that it's crucial to do. It's crucial to keep the door open. Because if we want to be righteous and stick to our value, the door is closed. For me, in Israel, I'm the one more radical left-wing percent in population. I'm like for sure. I'm like it's hard to find more than me. But when I go abroad and try to connect with, I know, like Palestinian organization, pro-Palestinian organization, the door is closed because I will not, I don't know, say that anything that my family did in the last 70 years is a crime. So, okay. And I think it's a tragedy for both sides because we have so much to come together about. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moran. And thank you all. Before ending this, we want to invite you to Hier and Jetzt. That's a symposium that we are holding on the 23rd and the 24th of February. So it's a Friday and Saturday, where we will also have delegates from Combatants for Peace who are going to take part in the workshops and in the assembly. There will also be an exhibition by Palestinians and Jews together. And there will be other organizations as well, such as Akevot, which is an institute for Israeli Palestinian conflict research, and some other peace organizations. I'm gonna put the link for you in the chat. Here, Ilan put it, so you can all register. You can register to all the events at once or for each event separately. And we would love to see everyone there. And thank you very much, Moran, again. And thank you, Mai. I hope that everything is okay. And we hope very much to also keep in touch and continue working together.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting us. And yeah, keep on what you're doing. It's great. And
Thank you very much.
good luck event.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. So have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.